Welcome to today's explainer. I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Imagine the world around you is completely asleep. It's perfectly quiet outside. You know that kind of heavy, profound silence that really only settles in during the darkest hours of the night? You're completely alone, sitting in a dimly lit room, just slowly turning the dial on an old analog shortwave radio. At first, you're just listening to the static, that endless, fuzzy hiss of the empty airwaves. But then, suddenly, the static breaks. You hear a voice. But it's not a late-night music station, and it absolutely isn't a news broadcast. It's something else entirely, something deeply mysterious, hidden right in plain sight, just broadcasting out into the void.
Section 1, 3 a.m. So, really picture this scenario. The frantic pace of the world has totally shut down. You're sitting there, the faint glow of the radio dial casting these long, eerie shadows across your desk. You're slowly tuning into unknown radio frequencies, drifting way past the normal commercial stations and wandering into the vast, totally unregulated wilderness of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's a profoundly isolating feeling, right? Being the only one awake, intercepting these invisible signals that seem to just be floating aimlessly through the dark, empty sky above you. And as you slowly turn that dial, searching through the endless white noise, the most unsettling thing happens. Right through the crackle and the hiss, these strange, unexplained sounds start to break through your speaker. It literally cuts through the absolute dead of night like a knife. It's this synthetic, almost robotic voice speaking out into the emptiness. And you've just accidentally stumbled right onto it. It's a real broadcast, happening right now in the very air around you.
But the voice you're hearing? It doesn't speak in regular sentences. It doesn't say hello. It literally only speaks in numbers. 7, 4, 9, 2. It repeats, slowly, deliberately, over and over again, just numbers, unending monotonous blocks of digits. And honestly, the absolute most terrifying part about the whole shebang, nobody knows who these numbers are meant for. They're being broadcast loudly across entire continents, yet they are intended for a single, entirely unknown listener somewhere out there in the dark.
Section 2, what are number stations?
Okay, let's dive into this. Because what we're talking about here isn't some ghost story, and it's definitely not a spooky internet urban legend. It's a very real, highly documented phenomenon. To really wrap our heads around it, we need to step away from that eerie late-night radio vibe for a second and look at the hard facts. We're going to explore the unsettling global reality of what is actually happening on our airwaves right this second. So, number stations are a documented phenomenon of global radio stations that broadcast random numbers and coded messages continuously for years. And I mean, sometimes they broadcast for decades. We aren't talking about amateur radio operators pulling a late-night prank. No way. These are incredibly powerful, massively funded transmitters pushing signals across the entire globe. They just broadcast lists of numbers, sending these unbreakable coded messages day in and day out without fail to an audience of absolute phantoms.
Section 3, secret spies and governments. Now, what's really interesting here is the massive, glaring contradiction at the heart of all of this. Think about it. If these stations are broadcasting with such overwhelming power, requiring massive antenna arrays, huge amounts of electricity, and endless funding, someone with incredibly deep pockets absolutely has to be operating them, right? But when you look for the obvious suspects, this bizarre sense of paranoia kind of sets in. Notice the stark, almost terrifying contrast. On one side, we have the official government stance, which is complete, utter denial. Not a single government on Earth officially admits to operating these specific number stations. They act like they simply don't exist. But then, on the exact opposite side, we have the expert consensus, secret messages for spies. Radio experts, historians, and intelligence analysts pretty much universally agree that these stations are government-run. They believe they're used specifically to send untraceable messages to undercover spies operating deep in foreign territories. The gap between this absolute official denial and the expert belief in a global espionage network is just staggering. Section 4, Cold War secrets. To really grasp the gravity of these mysterious broadcasts, we have to trace them back to their historical roots. We really have to ask ourselves, how far back does this shadowy, unspoken network actually reach? Well, the answer takes us way back in time, to an era of high global tension and deep, systemic international paranoia. If we trace this timeline back to point 1, the Cold War era, this is the exact period when these stations first became incredibly active. They were just filling the airwaves as different factions engaged in a silent, invisible war. But now, follow that timeline to point 2, today. The Cold War is long over in the history books, right? Yet, these stations are still broadcasting. They never stopped. It's honestly as if that invisible war never actually ended, and these phantom voices are still out there, actively speaking to hidden listeners, issuing commands for dark operations that the rest of us know absolutely nothing about.
Section 5. Hidden Truths. Let's just slow down to a crawl for a second. Really think about what this actually implies for your immediate present reality. We all walk around every single day completely oblivious to the invisible ways of communication passing right through the air around us, literally right through our homes, right through our bodies. So the absolutely crucial point is this. Right now, at this very moment, secret messages are being sent across the globe that we can hear, but we cannot understand. Completely uncrackable secrets are flying through the airwaves as we speak. We can tune in, we can hear the voice, we can even sit down and write out the numbers. But without the encryption key held by that lone hidden spy, we are completely, hopelessly in the dark, totally surrounded by information we can never, ever decipher.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering, and provocative thought to end today's explainer. What secrets are hidden right in front of us? I mean, if a global network of espionage can operate openly on public radio frequencies for decades, perfectly disguised as nothing but static and random numbers, what else is out there? What other dark realities are occurring right under our noses? If you want to keep exploring these mysteries and uncover more of the world's dark truths, make sure to subscribe to the Hidden Realities channel. Keep your eyes and your ears wide open.